In this video, we're going to read about the distribution of oceans and continents. Today, continents cover 29% of the total surface of the Earth, and the rest, that is 71%, is covered by ocean bodies. That is the reason planet Earth is also called as Blue Planet due to the abundant water on its surface. When you look at the world map, the distribution of ocean bodies and landmass, how they are today, it was not like this earlier. It was something like this. So in this chapter, we will understand how, why, and what made them change so much that it changed from the picture on your left to the picture on your right. We will also learn how scientists came to know about this, because scientists and philosophers are the ones who formed theories and collected evidence regarding the structure of the Earth. Therefore, it gets very fascinating to know about their way and methods of coming to a conclusion, which every one of us today are reading about. Let's begin with the first topic, continental drift. Continental drift is a theory based on the fact that if you look at the coastline of both sides of Atlantic Ocean, which is these two places basically, you will see some similarity. It looks as if they were together as one landmass once upon a time, and then it broke apart. And because of this observation, scientists believe that the two American continents, then Europe and Africa, they were once joined together. Initially, there was this Dutch map maker, Abraham Ortelius, who came up with this observation about the three continents being together. But in 1912, it was a German meteorologist by the name of Alfred Wegener who gave a comprehensive argument in the form of continental drift theory. Because he thought that the continents are drifting away from each other, I've made a separate video on this topic, the theory of continental drift and the evidence in support of this theory. You can find both the videos link in the description. Please have a look at it. So far we have studied about what is the continental drift theory and what are the evidences in support of the continental drift theory. Now we are going to read about the forces behind continental drift theory. Alfred Wegener, the person who suggested the theory of continental drift, he suggested that there were two reasons behind it. First one is pole fleeing force and the second one is tidal force. Let me tell you in quick what these two forces are. By the name pole fleeing force, we can think of something that is fleeing away or running away from the pole. In this case, we are talking about the landmass that is fleeing away from the South Pole. Because initially it was considered that Pangaea was originated near South Pole, and the Earth's centrifugal forces caused Pangaea to break apart and the resultant continents to drift towards equator. The second force that was suggested by Wegener was the tidal force. It is due to the attraction of the moon and the sun that develops tide in oceanic water. So Wegener believed that it is due to these two forces that worked for millions of years led to breaking of continents. Now there is a twist in this theory. Most scholars consider these forces to be totally inadequate, meaning they did not find enough strength in these two reasons that were suggested by Wegener, which ultimately led to the rejection of his theory. So please remember, it is due to the invalid reasons presented by Wegener led to the rejection of his theory on continental drift. And those invalid reasons were pole fleeing forces and tidal force. Now we are going to read about post-drift studies, meaning after the rejection of Wegener's continental drift theory, there was some more research and studies done so that it would be better to know that what if there are some unknown avenues which were left unexplored. Now the problem with Wegener's theory on continental drift was the evidence, which were completely focused towards landmass. In fact, they were collected from landmasses. So if you remember from the video evidence in support of continental drift theory, again the video link is in the description, we spoke about distribution of fossils of flora and fauna or deposits like tillite. So all these evidences were focused towards landmass. Now Alfred Wegener proposed his theory on continental drift in 1915. That was the time of World War I. A number of discoveries during the post-war period added new information to geological literature. Particularly, the information collected from ocean floor mapping provided new dimensions for the study of distribution of oceans and continents. Now let's read about what are those new information that came out. The first one is convectional current theory. Now what is the meaning of the word convectional? Convection is the circular motion that happens when warmer air or liquid, which has faster moving molecules, making it less dense, rises while the cooler air or liquid drops down. So how does rainfall occur? When warm air that goes up, it holds a lot of liquid, basically the moisture part. And when it condenses, the warmer air is cooled the moisture inside it breaks into liquid molecules and it falls down as rain. Now, in the similar sense, there's this person called Arthur Holmes in 1930. He said that there is a possibility of convection current operating in the mantle portion. Now, if you remember anything from the video, different layers of the earth, there I've discussed that the earth is divided into these layers, right? Crust, mantle, and core. And especially mantle is divided into two parts, the upper mantle and lower mantle. And the upper mantle is also called as asthenosphere, which means weaker layer. So Arthur Holmes is basically saying that there is a convection current which is operating in this part of the earth, which is the upper mantle. Because here all the rock is in molten state, and there is this motion going on wherein the molten rock is moving in a circular path, and that is what makes this layer very weak. So Arthur Holmes says that there exists a system of such currents in the entire mantle portion. So this was a very major contribution to our understanding of how the earth works. And this also became the basis on which the contemporary scientists discarded the continental drift theory. So I hope you understood the convectional current theory. Now we are going to read about mapping of the ocean floor. By the very name you can understand that it speaks about mapping or exploring the ocean bed. So while mapping, the scientists found that ocean floor is not just a vast plain, but it is full of relief, meaning it has similar uneven surface like we have on landmass. There are mountain ranges as well as deep trenches and then deep valleys in the ocean bed. So trenches are deep cavity or crack in the ocean bed. They usually occur when two continental plates move apart. There's another thing called the mid-oceanic ridges. Ridges are long mountain ranges. Now imagine how there could be a long mountain range inside the ocean. And the reason behind that is due to volcanic eruptions. So always remember, right under the crust we have the mantle. Mantle is again of two types, that is upper and lower mantle. But this mantle consists of molten rocks that keeps circulating. That is why the mantle is not a stable layer of the earth. So whenever there is a volcanic eruption, the magma comes out of the oceanic crust. It then becomes solidified rock after cooling. This solidified rock is also known as oceanic crust. And this oceanic crust after repetition forms oceanic ridge. Ridge is an uplifted landmass that looks like a mountain range. So what the scientists did was they took samples of rock particles from this ridge area as well as from the continental area. They just wanted to experiment and see which one of them is younger in terms of age. And it turned out that the sample of rocks that were collected from the ridge area is younger, and that has to be obviously younger because the volcanic eruption is happening every now and then. So newer molten rocks are forming layers of oceanic crust. And this was an interesting finding which made the post-drift studies more real and valid. Now we're going to read about ocean floor configuration. Here the entire ocean floor has been divided into three segments, and it has been done purely based on the depth as well as relief, meaning based on the looks. Let's read about each segment of the ocean floor. The first one is continental margin. By the heading you can again figure out that it's talking about area between the shore, that is continental shore, and deep sea basin. If you're on a beach, as you go further towards the sea, you'll notice the landform shows depression. As a result, the water level increases. Like this, there will be a point where the water gets really deep, and from above it looks deep blue, that is the deep sea basin. So this area is called the continental margin, and this consists of continental shelf, continental slope, which is the land depression, then continental rise, and deep oceanic trenches. Again, trenches mean deep cavity which occur when two continental plates move apart. The second one is abyssal plains. So abyssal means very, very deep. We are talking about deep plains that lie between continental margin and mid-oceanic ridges. So I have explained you what is continental margin and what is mid-oceanic ridges. So the area in between is called the abyssal plain. There's something special about this place. All these sediments, that is the mud or rock particles, it gets deposited here. So if you see, there is land depression as we move away from the continent towards deep sea. Due to this natural depression, all the mud particles or sediments, it moves downwards. It moves towards the abyssal plain. And the third component of ocean floor is mid-oceanic ridges. I've explained what they are. They are a long chain of mountain system within the ocean. It is also the longest mountain chain on earth, but it is inside the ocean water. and these ridges occur due to intense volcanic activity. When the magma comes out of the mantle, it breaks the oceanic crust so that the molten rocks can come out, and after cooling it forms layers of crust. This is how there is an upliftment that makes it a ridge. Now we are going to read about the distribution of earthquakes and volcanoes. For this we are going to refer to this figure. The big black dots represent hotspots, which basically means that here the magma comes out of the mantle. That's why they are referred to as hotspots. Many such hotspots are located in ocean floor, and there are few on continental Mars as well. The next you see the tiny black dots. These are places where you will find a volcano. Many of them are located on continental Mars and a few in ocean floor. Then we have these tiny gray dots forming a long line sort of a thing. These are regions of shallow earthquake, and they are found on ocean bed. They are also known as mid-oceanic ridges. And I've explained what mid-oceanic ridges are. They occur due to movement of continental plates, and if you see, earthquakes are tremors originating from plate movements. At last we have the gray shaded regions. They are deep earthquake zone. Again, they are part of mid-oceanic ridges, but these are deeper ones and are very active earthquake zone. So if you look at the grayish area near Indian Himalayan region, this region is very unstable because the Indian and Eurasian plates are constantly converging and creating tension. So this was the entire distribution of earthquakes and volcanoes that we saw with the help of a figure.